It happened just 5 minutes after the shot rang out. A man steps forward, climbs onto the very chair Charlie Kirk had just been sitting in, and reaches for the camera mounted behind him. Not a word from law enforcement. No warning, no documented chain of custody. Just a hand, pulling the SD card in and slipping it away. And just like that, a key piece of evidence vanished into someone's pocket. Outside the reach of public record. Outside the reach of truth. Where did that card go? Who touched it? And why has what it captured never been seen by the public? Tonight, we investigate the missing memory, the security breach no one can explain, and the footage that could shatter the narrative we've been told. Because when a camera sees everything, but its footage disappears, someone made that decision. If you're watching this, I need to know, where are you? Drop your location in the comments, and tell me your first reaction, because no citizen should ever be powerless when evidence vanishes. What is on that SD card, and who's keeping it hidden? Here's where the story fractures. We're told the SD card was recovered, and eventually turned over to the FBI. But then, silence. No public release, no time-stamped footage, no confirmation of what was on it, or what might have been taken off. If that camera saw the shooter's angle, if it captured someone moving behind Kirk, if it shows a flash, a signal, or even a hesitation, that would be explosive evidence. And yet, nothing. Instead, we get two competing narratives. The first, the TPUSA staffer acted heroically. He grabbed the SD cards to protect them, then handed them off to federal agents. The second, that same staffer may have delayed the handover, copied the files, or worse, removed parts entirely. Critics aren't making wild accusations. They're asking very specific questions. If the event was being live-streamed, why remove the SD card at all? Why not allow law enforcement to retrieve it, log it, seal it, right there on the scene? Why was that evidence moved, in secret, within minutes of a national figure being shot? And then there's Candace Owens. She claims to have seen the footage, over FaceTime, a partial view, unreleased to the public. Her description? No exit wound, no visible blood on the tent behind Kirk. Something too clean. If that's true, it raises medical questions, forensic questions, ballistic contradictions. And here's what no one can explain. In Utah, removal of evidence from a crime scene, especially without authorization, can constitute a felony. But no charges have been filed. No formal identification has been made public of the man who took the SD card. No written statement, no accountability. And the logs, the ones that should document every handoff, every data transfer, every second of custody, are missing or sealed. What's left is silence and suspicion. Candace Owens has said it herself. People within the company betrayed Charlie. That's not a political statement. That's a warning. If the people closest to Kirk were the first to control the evidence. If internal security removed footage before law enforcement arrived. If only partial clips were shown to select individuals. Then what are we really dealing with? A moment of chaos? Or a moment of coordination? Did someone act alone or under instruction? And was that SD card removed to protect Charlie Kirk or to protect someone else? At the heart of any crime is the question of truth. But when truth itself is taken, when evidence is hidden, edited, or delayed, can justice survive? If the SD card from the camera behind Charlie Kirk was altered, copied, or selectively concealed, what does that mean for the investigation? For the prosecution? For the legacy of a man shot in public view? When chain of custody breaks, the whole system cracks. That single breach, that moment the evidence was removed by someone not sworn, not documented, not neutral, may have damaged everything that followed. Because if the most critical piece of footage is compromised, then so is the story built on top of it. And if the people with the most access, insiders, trusted staff, private security, are the first to touch the evidence and the last to explain their actions, where is the accountability? What does it say when political organizations, with media reach and personal interests, are allowed to handle evidence before federal agents? When the very people charged with protecting someone may also control the lens that determines what the public sees. When trusted authorities step between truth and transparency, does that not become part of the crime? Charlie Kirk was more than a political figure. He was a son, a husband, a leader to millions. His family deserves clarity. His supporters deserve truth. The public deserves unfiltered answers. not fragments, not FaceTime previews, not redacted timelines. But when the people closest to that loss might also be gatekeepers to the truth, that grief becomes something darker. It becomes betrayal. And now the question falls to you. If you were a citizen invested in justice, not politics, would you accept the official narrative, knowing that the most important piece of evidence was removed, off record, and never shown again? Would you? Or would you ask, as we do now, not just what happened to Charlie Kirk, but what happened to the truth? It was supposed to be just another stop on the tour, a speech, a crowd, a message. But at 12:23 p.m., everything stopped. A single shot cracked through the air. Sharp, immediate, final. Charlie Kirk collapsed, struck in the neck. Screams erupted. People scattered. Some dropped to the ground. Others sprinted toward exits. Security hesitated, unsure. Campus police radioed in confusion. And amid it all, Charlie Kirk was on the ground, bleeding, dying. Medics rushed the stage, but the scene was chaos. And right behind it all was the one angle that could have seen everything. A camera, positioned just feet away. A clean, uninterrupted view of Kirk's back, of the direction the bullet came from, of what no eyewitness could fully comprehend in the blur of that moment. It's that camera, the one behind him, the one with the SD card. That footage should have captured everything. The trajectory, the crowd's reaction, any suspicious movement, maybe even the shooter. But what did we see instead? Within minutes, someone climbs onto the stage, not to help, not to shield evidence, but to grab it. Using the very chair Kirk had just been sitting in, this man reaches for the camera, pulls out the SD card, and disappears.
Truth,
no badge, no gloves, no scene documentation, no tape, no protocol. This wasn't law enforcement preserving evidence. It was something else. And what happened next wasn't order. It was absence. No perimeter was sealed. No witness statements were collected in those first crucial minutes. No official body secured the most vital angles. Cameras were taken down. People left the scene freely. The tent remained open. And for those still there, watching, it was impossible not to feel the weight of something off. Not just the horror of a man shot in public, but the sinking realization that whatever was caught on that camera might already be gone. Some who were there say they saw no blood spatter behind Kirk, no visible exit wound. Others say smoke hung in the air, but not from the crowd, from somewhere closer. And in that fog of confusion, one thing became clear. What should have been the most protected piece of forensic evidence, the camera directly behind the victim, was the first thing to go. Why? Why did that footage disappear so fast? Why was the man who removed it never named? Why did law enforcement allow it? This was more than a crime after the shot more than a shooting. This was the moment the truth itself began to bleed. September 10th, 2025. Utah Valley University. Charlie Kirk is standing under a white event tent, delivering what would become his final speech. It's part of his comeback tour. A high-profile, politically charged appearance. And just like that, but security, a key piece of almost non-existent. No bag checks, no metal detectors. Only 6 campus police officers, and a handful of private security from Turning Point USA. The audience sits quietly, listening by the public. But behind Charlie, something else is watching. A camera, mounted at shoulder height, pointed straight at his back. It's the only camera known to capture the space behind him in real time. But that camera held an SD card, a simple piece of hardware, no bigger than a postage stamp. But in the hours and days that followed, it would become the single most contested piece of evidence in the entire case. Because the moment the shot rang out, at exactly 12:23 p.m. Mountain Time, everything changed. Here's where the story fractures. People screamed, staff scattered, and within 5 minutes, camera equipment was being pulled down. Witnesses saw one man climb onto the stage, stand on the very chair Charlie had just vacated, and remove the SD card from the camera behind him. He didn't look like a cop. He wasn't wearing a badge, and yet no one stopped him. Moments later, that SD card changed hands again, slipped to another man. No names, no logging, no oversight, no evidence seal. This wasn't how evidence is supposed to be handled, especially not when the victim is a national figure. In any other high-risk event, law enforcement would immediately seize video footage, isolate all devices, lock down the perimeter, and begin a formal chain of custody. But that didn't happen here. Instead, we got silence. And 5 major players emerged. Charlie Kirk, the victim. The unnamed tech staffer who removed the SD card. TPUSA's communications director, Andrew Colvett, who would later defend that decision. Candace Owens, who claims to have seen the footage days later. And federal authorities, the FBI and the Utah Department of Public Safety, who still haven't released what that card showed. So the question remains, was the camera behind Charlie Kirk a silent witness to something no one wants us to see? And if so, who made the decision to silence it? In the hours after the shooting, federal authorities moved in. The FBI, the Utah Department of Public Safety. The gravity of the event demanded it. A political figure shot in broad daylight on a college campus with thousands of witnesses. They canvassed nearby neighborhoods. They seized surveillance footage from nearby homes. One resident later confirmed her front door camera was taken without formal explanation, after agents said the suspect may have passed through backyards. But while law enforcement scoured the edges, something else was happening at the center of it all, and it wasn't public. The most critical camera, the one directly behind Charlie Kirk, was already gone. Or more precisely, its footage was. TPUSA's communications director, Andrew Colvett, who would later defend that decision. Candace Owens, who claims to have seen the footage days later. And federal authorities, the FBI and the Utah Department of Public Safety, who still haven't released what that card showed. So the question remains, was the camera behind Charlie Kirk a silent witness to something no one wants us to see? And if so, who made the decision to silence it? In the hours after the shooting, federal authorities moved in. The FBI, the Utah Department of Public Safety. The gravity of the event demanded it. A political figure shot in broad daylight on a college campus with thousands of witnesses. They canvassed nearby neighborhoods. They seized surveillance footage from nearby homes. One resident later confirmed her front door camera was taken without formal explanation, after agents said the suspect may have passed through backyards. But while law enforcement scoured the edges, something else was happening at the center of it all, and it wasn't public. The most critical camera, the one directly behind Charlie Kirk, was already gone. Or more precisely, its footage was. According to Turning Point USA, the man who grabbed the SD card was a longtime staffer. Andrew Colvett, a senior producer, later claimed he took the card to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. But who decided those hands were wrong? And more importantly, who gave the order? Some say the FBI received the footage later that same day. But critics argue that's not enough. Where's the time-stamped footage? Where's the chain of custody log, showing who handled the SD card minute by minute? Was the footage altered? Was it copied? Was anything deleted? The public has never seen the raw video. Instead, we've had to rely on vague statements, and inconsistent ones at that. TPUSA claims the staffer acted on instinct. Others say he had direct instructions from law enforcement. No one has been able to confirm either version, and no charges of evidence tampering or obstruction have been filed. Then came a new voice, Candace Owens. She claimed to have seen the footage over FaceTime. According to her, it shows no exit wound, no visible blood on the backdrop behind Kirk. She described it as clinical, almost too clean. And she suggested, not accused, but suggested, that something was being concealed. The internet took it from there. Why haven't we seen phone footage from attendees? Where are the amateur clips, the shaky vertical videos that surface after every major incident? Were phones confiscated? Were uploads blocked? Or is something even stranger happening? The investigation should have answered those questions. Instead, it's raised more. And at the center of it all remains that missing SD card, and the man who removed it. We don't know his name. We don't know what he saw. We don't know if he acted on orders or on something else. What we do know is that the camera behind Charlie Kirk might have captured everything. And right now the people don't have the right to see it. A bullet, a camera positioned directly behind the victim, an SD card vanishing into someone's hand, and a refusal, so far. happened